Welcome back to the Tul World podcast. I'm your host, David Ju, and I'm here with Master Ju.
And Mr. Ju.
How are you doing today?
Same as usual.
We're still here at our new location.
That's right. Isn't it wonderful? And we still don't have mirrors.
Yes.
When is that coming?
I'm sure by the next time this next batch comes out,
Maybe.
they'll have mirrors. Everything's going to be
Maybe.
transformed.
Well, how many are we going to be doing it here for a while, or what's the deal?
I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. Anyways, this week, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of different gloves that you have. And why so is because that recently we have started having our own official sparring gear for our studios.
Yeah, right.
This is the gear that we're going to be using.
For our studio.
And it's the enclosed glove. It looks a little bit like this.
Right.
Has a nice Tul World logo on it. And this is the gear that our students will be getting when they buy sparring gear at our studio. And
Right.
if you guys at Tul World would like to purchase them as well, you can do so through our website too.
Oh, a plug.
Yeah, a little plug there. But I wanted to go over the different styles of gloves that you have, right? Because recently a lot of people are switching to the enclosed glove. And we're not just going to talk about Taekwondo, but we're going to talk about other martial arts too. And what are the pros and cons you get?
Okay, well, let's go.
Let's start with the most minimal one,
Well,
the
let's
MMA one.
Well, why don't we go back? I'd like to just share something because I've been around a little bit, not that long. Been around a little bit. I remember when I first started Taekwondo, we didn't have gear. This was back in
This is minimal.
Minimal. This is back in the late 70s. And my instructor, Grandmaster Sabri, he said, "Oh, you need this." And he showed me these gloves that look kind of like this, right? And he says, "You need to have this for sparring." I says, "Yes, sir." Okay. Because we weren't using any kind of gloves or anything.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was the Junri gloves. You know, I'm not sure what the brand, but it was the Junri glove. Because Junri was the one that I think, created these sparring gear.
Okay.
The foot gear and the hand gear was the dip foamed, and we were like, okay. And he only bought one size. Everyone got extra large. It's like,
Yeah, you got to keep
like
the
this
inventory
long.
low, you know? You just offer the one size.
either that or he just had to try to get rid of these
Oh,
sizes.
yeah. Maybe got a discount or something.
Yeah, and I wore a medium boot, and it's like, these are extra large. Oh, that's good, give me a little bit extra
Room to
reach.
grow? Oh,
No,
reach.
extra reach. Anyway, so that was kind of new. But it wasn't like super new because like I remember in the 1973, Bruce Lee's movie Enter the Dragon, and he wore these Kempo gloves. I think they were called Kempo gloves. I'm not sure. They had like fingers and they were like a boxing glove. And I thought those were really cool, right?
Right.
And so obviously there have been gear. Boxing gloves have been around for a long time, right? When Bruce Lee's movie Enter the Dragon came out, and he had these Kempo gloves where the open fingers. So it's a little bit different. I don't think people have seen that before because of the, boxing gloves were enclosed, and how now we had fingers. And so why did we have those fingers? Well, because in martial art, we do different things, right? We don't always just punch. We might be grappling somebody, we might be grabbing them, and so those kind of things. And so with the open fingers, that kind of helped. And I think in the late, like I said, when we first started, these were the kind of gloves that was available, and it's still very popular. Recently, though, I think we moved to this particular style, where it's enclosed fingers. Is that good or bad? Good and bad, I think, to some degree. Depends on what your style is in a way, right? But for safety purpose, and you're only sparring, yeah. Like a little boxing glove. It's a little different than a boxing glove because the inside is not enclosed, right? It's open. But the thumb is protected as well as the fingers.
Okay, so let's go back to that Kempo glove. Would you say, have you ever worn them? You had a pair.
Yeah,
so
I
when
did.
you hit somebody, was it like getting hit without any gear on? Because I'm assuming it was much thinner.
Well, so that's interesting because those Kempo gloves are in almost kind of like regular boxing gloves, but the fingers were exposed, and so you could kind of move the fingers.
Right.
So they weren't just covered up, right? They weren't. They weren't open, but they were pretty padded actually. But what you're talking about are like these little bag gloves.
Like the ones you see in MMA.
Right. And
Do they wear that in MMA?
I think they do.
I think feel like I've seen it.
But I kind of think what happened on that was that manufacturers created training gloves, and they created like these little bag gloves. You know, some of these bag gloves, they're really thin. They're not too. I mean, some of them are like a mid, and they made some that had gloves so you could do different things, and they were more like a bag glove. You know, hitting a bag. And I remember this is before MMA kind of really got big, because if you look at, there was a point in time where the Taibo issue thing, and you still have the cardio kickboxing where people are hitting bags and stuff. We did that a lot, and the gloves that were easy to use and easy to put on were these little black bag gloves, and they were half gloves, and they weren't really boxing gloves, but they protected the knuckles, and you know, that was pretty cool. And then you start seeing those in a lot of MMA fights.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's go a little bit further. Sometimes you have some students that come from another school and they might be wearing boxing gloves. And we got the enclosed gloves.
Right.
So why would you not want to wear a boxing glove, or might want to wear a boxing glove for boxing? What's the difference?
Ooh, there is a difference, because boxing gloves do have different weight to them, right? And so some say that, you know, certain gloves can hit harder. You know, they are heavier. And so if you can, you know, get your hand to be moving, getting those gloves to move faster, they can actually hit a little bit harder. And so in some ways you don't want that as well.
Right.
And then you also have like WT, which uses the Hogu system, which is more like an open, just a pad over the knuckles, just, you know, to protect the hand from getting, and I think that's really what these gears are for, is to protect the person that's wearing them, not necessarily the person that is being hit. Because you have these foot gear, and yeah, there's a little padding, but there's not going to make much of a difference when they get hit.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Takes
maybe
off
a
some
little,
of the little
bit,
impact.
but you could probably still knock them out. And look at some of these boots. The bottom of the foot's not necessarily covered up, right? The back of the heel's got this little thin, you know, little foam. But I would say that, you know, if you got elbowed on that foot gear, you don't feel it as much, right?
Right.
I don't know, but
It takes off that sting.
Takes off that sting. That's the same with the hand technique.
Right.
And I think the enclosed glove is good in that way, because sometimes I have seen where you've gotten fights, especially with those open ones, where a finger got caught and broke. Ooh. I remember a world championship, and this competitor goes up to, can you get me one of those enclosed gloves? And my finger's broken. And says, yeah, here, we'll put that in there, slip it in. And then she went right back in there. And
really?
fought. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I go, that's tough.
That's tough.
She's not giving up.
Thanks for jumping into our Tul World podcast. Don't forget to be safe.
Keep training.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Taekwon.